Good morning. Morning.
Good morning.
I call this meeting of Lake Mary Toastmaster Club 6440 to order. But before we proceed, please silence your cell phones. I would like to ask everyone to stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Our club mission is to provide a supportive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. With that said, please help me welcome our Toastmaster this morning, Stephen Morgan.
As darkness descends and the dead rise to walk this evening, I'm sure that everyone is eager to see what experiences might be coming forth. However, it looks like there might be a vacancy.
I can take it on.
Somebody must have expired prematurely. Please send the condolences along to Paul's family when you see them. If you happen to catch an apparition of him along the way, you'll know why. With our meeting on Halloween, an interesting holiday, especially in the United States, it varies significantly across the world. As many of you are familiar with here in the United States, the kids will be dressing up, going around seeking candy. And if you do fail to provide, then you might find yourself with a few nasty tricks along the way. So there's a few bits of candy you might be able to hand out if you don't have it yet, or consume on your own. We'll see what survives. We'll see who survives, especially those who survive our jurors this morning. Our Gulmarian this morning, Jessica. Please explain what you'll be doing.
Should I say as Gulmarian or as Gromarian?
You come to the same end either way.
Fair enough. It's my function to select the word of the day to help build members' vocabularies. Each member, when called upon to speak, is encouraged to use the word of the day. And other members may gently rap on the table when they hear a member use the word. So today's word of the day is, it's already been used by our Toastmaster, apparition. And that is a supernatural appearance of a person or thing, especially a ghost or specter or phantom. Anything that appears, especially something remarkable or startling or in the act of appearing or manifestation. In addition, I will be listening for any errors in grammar, as well as excellent word selections. I will also be noting any colorful thoughts or phrases members might use. During the evaluation portion of the meeting, I will present my report. Oh, and I should mention it's a 25-cent fine if you speak and do not use the word of the day. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
I hear she may take payment in digits as well. Working as magic on the clock this morning, Heidi. What will you be doing?
As time bewitcher, my function is to time the speakers, evaluators, and table topic participants to ensure they meet the timing requirements. I will demonstrate the timing lights, which will be displayed as follows. For speakers, green at 5, yellow at 6, red at 7, disqualified at 7.5. Table topics, green at 1, yellow at 1.5, and red at 2, disqualified at 2.5. Evaluators, green at 2, yellow at 2.5, red at 3, disqualified at 3.5. and at the end of the segment, I'll report the timing results.
Somebody is in trouble now. They need to correct the writing on that placard. Our table topics are generally 30 to 60 seconds. And as a result, if this were a contest, we'd be doing 1 to 2 minutes. But in order for everyone to get their own opportunities to mess everything up, we give a little less time that we shall have more to squeeze in. Our executioner seems to have already become his own victim, but stepping in, hoping to survive today then. Please explain what you'll be doing in that role, Julia.
I shall. Toastmaster and fellow Toastmaster, as the executioner, I shall be listening to all the uhs, the no's, so's, okays, ands, you like, and all that stuff that are filler words. I'll also look for double clutches, which are those twice we said, means, this means, you know. And then finally, I'll listen for those lip smash. And all those distractions, I'll give my report at the end. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
The joy of having everyone nice and fearful. This is the perfect place for that, as I understand it, since there are plenty of people who walk in with a lot of fear. Now, whether they will survive to return, we shall see. So far, the first of the condemned this morning has managed to survive once and is attempting to try a second time. I particularly love this title. It's the color of blood. I'm sorry, it's the color red. Please welcome Suzelene Michelle.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and guests. When you think of the color red, what comes to mind? For me, it's energy, it's passion, it's motivation, it's positive, it's alive, it's inspiring, it's motivation. And those colors, those reasons are why the color red is my favorite color. I put a little bit of red everywhere, every day in my life, intentionally. I'm wearing red today. My car is red. My wallet is red. My phone case is red. And when you walk through my house, the first thing you see is my dining room. I have a red accent wall. You keep walking through my house, on my in my living room, on my couch, you see pillows with red accents. You see a red vase on my coffee table, a red candle on my kitchen counter. So red means a lot to me. It brings me energy. It gives me motivation. It takes me through the day-to-day. And it's like my Red Bull. If I'm feeling lazy, it makes me act. So by taking me through a day-to-day, it also helps me to achieve my short-term and long-term goals. So as I was thinking of what red means to me, I was thinking, what does red mean to others? Is it as motivating? Is it positive like it is to me? So I asked my 7-year-old niece, who lives in Long Island, New York, what it means to her. And she says that red is like red fall leaves. She likes it because it means winter. She gets to wear her beautiful red coat. She sees rainbow and she sees apples. I asked my youngest brother, who was in the hospital earlier this year for 2 months, and he underwent 2 major surgeries, what he thinks of the color red. And to him, it means blood. It means sickness and pain. And it didn't always used to be like that, he says. It used to be positive for him until that experience. I asked some coworkers who are accountants like me what they think of the color red, and they see anything negative. That's red. Red on the badge, red on the income statement. And a lot of them, they get anxious when they see the color red. They try to stay away from the color red. They see stoplights and they see stop signs and things like that. They see corrections. And for a friend of mine, she sees red in terms of fashion. It's confident, it's bold, like red lipstick. In Jamaica, red means someone it's a slang word for someone who's drunk or intoxicated. In India, if you have a red dot on your forehead, it brings good luck. In China, it also means good luck. I have a friend of mine, when he's angry, he just sees red. He sees red stars everywhere. I have another friend, all she sees are red correction marks on her kids' assignments. So she doesn't use red ink because of that. So the color red is very powerful. It means different things to different people. It can mean something positive or negative, depending on where you're from. For me, it's positive. It helps me through my day. It motivates me, it inspires me. But for others, depending on where they're from, where they live, or what experiences they've been through, it might mean something totally negative or positive. So, fellow Toastmasters and guests, as you go through the day, think about what the color red means to you. Is it good or bad? Thank you.
If the bewitcher gives us a minute in honor of the condemned. Everyone write your condolences. The next of the condemned has an interesting presentation, so I hear. She'll be explaining how she cut off her right foot. Oh. Unfortunately, she cannot demonstrate since she's already done so. Instead, she says this morning, Alexandra is going to demonstrate how we could easily harm ourselves by simply making the wrong selection of shoes.
Oh.
Please welcome Alexandra.
I remember several months ago, one of our fellow Toastmasters, Jessica, gave us an amazing presentation, educational, about how high heels wearing the correct way could harm our foot for the sake of fashion or being beautiful. I remember watching and looking Jessica's presentations and her pictures that she was showing us, and I was in shock. Those pictures, Jessica, are still haunting me. Mr. Ghostmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests, raise your hand if you wear high heel shoes. Raise your hand.
We've seen it. Just so private.
Raise your hand if you have ladies in your life wearing high heel shoes. I'm your friend, Michael. You can I have to confess, after 18 years of wearing high heels the correct way, I'm now victim of a foot neuroma. Watching Jessica's presentation, I was scarred for life for those images. They're still haunting me. But sitting on that chair, I was thinking, no, that will never happen to me. Things never happen to us.
Oh, that's wrong. That's great.
I put my foot by the incorrect wearing of high heels. It's located at the level of the foot ball, and I'm going to take you inside the foot in a second. And as you can see here, as our foot goes on the high heel, it's making that pressure on this area of the foot. Let's go inside the foot. What is still a neuroma? Well, let's break this down. We have the metatarsal bones, which are right here, and these are the head of the metatarsal bones. And between those metatarsal bones, we see the nerves. A neuroma is an inflammation of one of those nerves. Because when we wear shoes like this type, we are compressing those metatarsal bones, which is compressing the nerve and basically hurting the nerve. That is basically a neuroma. Now, what are the symptoms? This doesn't say anything until we feel it. The symptoms is like an apparition that is haunting you. By having a foot neuroma, every time you walk, it feels literally like you're walking over razor blades. It feels stabbing pain every time you walk on the ball of your foot. This is agony.
An aberration.
A Toastmaster
Aberration.
Oh no. The apparition.
Aberration, watch that word.
After we're in agony, obviously this is not happening to me, but it's happening. I need to go to the doctor. What are the treatments? The treatments, the doctor is going to tell you, well, let's go conservative first. Let's put ice, rest your foot, give you painkiller, some anti-inflammatory, and that should be okay. Well, it was not okay for me. I had it to go back 3 weeks later. The pain, stabbing pain, was still there. The doctor said, well, let's go a little more aggressive. Now we are going to give you shots of cortisone, 2 shots. That should do it. You should be okay. Just call me if you need me. Well, I went back to the doctor. More stabbing pain that is not going away. Let's now give you 8 shots. I'm on my second one with alcohol to the purpose of killing the nerve with the alcohol. That's a different procedure. And obviously, let's put you on a surgical boot, fashionable one, to release the pressure on the nerve. What we're trying to avoid, which is the worst case scenario, is surgical procedure. This is not my foot, but you can get the idea. This is the nerve that is wrong, that is swollen, and that's what we're trying to avoid. My doctor said, you don't want to do that. That's a very long recovery process. But ultimately, that will be, if nothing works, surgery. Is a neuroma preventable? Absolutely, yes. You don't have to say, okay, I'm not wearing high heels forever and ever. That's not the case. Come on, ladies, we wear our heels. However, we need to find ways to find the right shoe box, the shoe box that we're looking for when we buy shoes. Try to look for this shape, wide, versus the one that is like this shape, which is going to make the pressure of the bones and the nerves. So you see the difference of the shape of the shoe. What is the outlook? Well, the outlook basically, if the nerve gets repaired, we okay. If we need to go to surgery, it also depends if the doctor is able to remove the damaged nerve. I know what you're thinking. That will never happen to me. Don't put your foot in your mouth. Get on the right foot, and when you buy and wear shoes, look for the good selection. Mr. Toastmaster.
Another minute for the condemned. If you weren't scared yet, get ready now. You get to hear about Fearbola, Airborn infectious disease. And here to demonstrate for us, got Dave.
Mr. Ghostmaster, fellow ghosts and guests. What are you afraid of? Neuroma? Are you afraid to die? Cancer? Heart attack? Losing your home? Losing your job? The death of a loved one? You are afraid of something. Can you imagine what you're afraid of? Some people are even afraid if they're in a room, claustrophobia. Some people are afraid of heights. Each one of us, we're afraid of something. Are you afraid of me? Do you think I'm the witch doctor from Africa? Are you not going to be afraid of me today? Well, my fellow Toastmasters, I want you to be afraid of me because I come from the country that is called Sierra Leone in West Africa. I lived in Liberia. I worked in Guinea. I've been in Nigeria. And now I live in the United States. Have you not heard about Ebola? Well, I come from all those countries. So if I touch you right now, I may be transmitting Ebola. Don't get afraid, all right? I've not been in those regions for over the last 10 months before the outbreak of Ebola. So I don't have Ebola in me. Don't be afraid. I may just be a witch doctor carrying something in my pocket here that I will just throw in this room. It could be an apparition of something to come. What is Fearbola, fellow Toastmasters? Fearbola is an airborne contagious infection that comes to your mind through your ears. Fearbola. It comes to your mind through your ears when you watch the images and pictures on the television or on the newspaper. Then you really get afraid, thinking that I got Fearbola. There are over 10,000 people in those West African countries who have been affected by the virus, the contagious virus that is called Ebola. And out of those 10,000 people, almost half of those people have died and they're buried and they've disappeared. But we don't catch Ebola just by the virus. And where does this virus come from? This deadly, contagious, infectious disease. It comes from body fluids that have come from animals like bats, pigs, caterpillars, chimpanzees, and so on. Ebola started probably in 1976 in the East African, Central African country of Congo. It started with those animals along the Ebola River. So the name really Ebola comes from a river, just like you have Lake Mary, and you live in the city of Lake Mary. I just recently found out that there was actually a lake called Lake Mary, if you don't talk to my sister Erica here. So that was where Ebola started. And when it started, it was not really intensely treated. Much research wasn't done like malaria, because the signs and the symptoms of malaria, of Ebola, are very, very similar to malaria, the flu. You know, in this country we've talked about, and around the world we've talked about bird flu, we've talked about swine flu. But Ebola have similar symptoms that people will catch. And when they have those symptoms, they don't know whether it's Ebola. They think it's just a flu they are having. And immediately you have it, it goes sometimes from 7 to 9 days. You could start to exhibit those symptoms of having a high fever, of vomiting. And it could be at that stage, and for 21 days, if it doesn't progress, then you may be out of the woods. But if it continues, bleeding may take place in your eyes, internal bleeding from your nose and your lips. Very, very fatal and deadly disease. That is really what is Ebola. But really now we see that over 200 million people in the United States are catching Fearbola. They are catching it because they hear what is being said on the news, whether it's about the CDC or the NIH, or you just turn on the news, the top headlines will start to tell you about what's happening in Atlanta, what's happening in Texas, what's happening in New York City, and what's happening in New Jersey, because the news is bringing that all together. But here's good news for you, not to be so much consumed with Fearbola that is killing you. Because we've only had one person die in the United States of Ebola, and that caused more Fearbola. The young man, Eric Duncan, who came from the country of Liberia and went to the Texas Presbyterian Health Hospital, and after all the saga that went on, died with Ebola. And that raised the alarm. The Fearbola just became so infectious and contagious because 2 of the nurses from that hospital were infected, but now they are out of the woods. If you look at the news, you know, they were all quarantined and treated for a while. So my fellow Ghostmasters, do not be afraid of Fearbola. You're going to see the information on the television, in the newspaper. Be informed. Know the facts. You can read lots of facts about it. Every news broadcast, every website, social media. Know the facts. And be concerned that Ebola is really going to be eradicated where it started. You know, whether it is travel ban, whether it's restricted travel, and all of these things that are going on, they are trying to come with drugs. But you can overcome Fearbola. You can be victorious by talking to people, that not because you hear that guy there, he's from Sierra Leone, immediately he catches Ebola. So Fearbola can be overcome. We can be victorious, we can be strong, because Ebola is always going to be with us. But Fearbola we can overcome. Mr. Ghostmaster.
One more minute for the condemned. It is now time to flip the page and realize that our executioner obviously had a second agenda, since she also has the role of Grand Inquisitor for the Inquisition. I'm sure she's going to root out those next victims all by herself. Please welcome Julia Hoffman.
Thank you, Mr. Ghostmaster, fellow Ghostmaster or Toastmasters. Are we ready? The theme is Halloween. Richard, if you could design your own Halloween costume, what would it be? And there's no limits to the money spent on it.
Well, I happened to do one this year, actually. I designed a hobo costume with many stuff, all the clothes from Goodwill. Disintegrating golf shoes, dirtied up pants that we cut the bottoms off of, really ugly jackets and shirts, and this top hat that crumpled up. It's awesome.
What was the scariest movie you've ever seen and why? Jessica.
Thank you, The scariest movie, it's so funny, is everyone's talking about scary movies right now because it's Halloween, and I was even listening to the countdown on the radio today of scary movies. I have to say, the scariest movie I've ever seen to this day, and I still really love it, is the original The Thing with John Carpenter. I love that movie. It was probably the scariest movie I've ever seen because my mom let me watch it at a really inappropriate age. 8 or 9 years old, and she was just, oh yeah, you should see this movie. It's about this alien ship that crashes in Antarctica. I don't know why she let me watch it, but it scared me, but I still really loved it. To this day, I still like it. That is the scariest movie I've ever seen.
Okay. Halloween or The Birds are right up there on top of my scariest movies. I'm not going to ask anything about Halloween. I'm going to get you off the hook. So I'm allowing you and your partner to skip Halloween and have a spectacular date night instead. What would you do, Mr. Mike Hughes?
I had an apparition about this the other day. The perfect date. It would start on the beach, having a nice glass of wine, watching the waves crash in. And I would go get ice cream, watch the Cub Scouts come through, buy him a scoop, and then I'd take him off to bed and have rough sex. That would be my perfect date.
All right, thank you, Mike. Like your candid response there.
Yes.
All right. A great person from history visits your house with a trick-or-treat bag. Who do you think that person would be, and what would you like to do or ask that person? Ernst.
I saw an apparition of the word of today question coming my way. Would you please ask the question again?
I sure can. A great person from history visits your house with a trick-or-treat bag. Who do you think that person would be, and what would you like to ask that person?
A person from history. And that person must have died then, right? Or could still be alive?
Could be an aberration.
Wow, this is a question I have a hard time to answer because as far as Halloween, I'm being from overseas we don't celebrate Halloween. I never got into Halloween. I don't understand Halloween. And answering questions about Halloween is very, very tough to me. But if there was a person knocking my door with a candy, basket of candy, whatever, I couldn't think anybody more than Brigitte Bardot maybe coming to my house. We don't read out candies, especially 40 years ago. But I'm taking talking about it.
A girl a question next time. If I have time. No, I don't. All right, that's ending of table topics. We're off, everyone's off the hook now.
Therefore, it's time for judgment. And our chief judge for us today, our president at the same time, Erica will be leading us through, and I'm sure she'll have plenty to tell us. Erica.
Thank you, Toastmaster. Fantastic meeting, indeed. I'm surprised that we didn't have an apparition of all the missing fellow members that could have been here today, but they might be here in spirit. I would like to ask our first accuser, Mr. Ernst Urbanchik, evaluating speech by Suzelene M.
General Evaluator. Suzelene, what a great speech. What a great question about the color red. The color red is scary indeed in many ways, because I've come from the hotel business, operations side, and when I saw the color red, I knew there was big trouble somewhere coming down the pipe. So anyways, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests, and especially Susan, thank you for delivering such a great speech. Very thought-provoking. Susan was to speak from the Competent Communicators Manual, number 2. The objective is organize your speech. To organize the speech with a strong opening, which catches the audience, and smooth transition to the body, which must convey her story, and then have a strong conclusion. She was supposed to follow the outline that can be easily followed and understood to convey a clear message with supporting material and appropriate transition. My job is to explain how that works. In my opinion, your speech overall was very well presented. You met all the objectives. Fantastic speech number 2, especially spoke without holding onto the podium like I do. You were there free-willing and did a fantastic job. Very interesting story, very thought-provoking, because many color red certainly evokes many different thoughts for many different people. The first point was what you made was question, what does it mean to you? And you explained it very well. And what does it mean to us? In the beginning, I would be a little bit more vocal about it. So you can captivate the audience a little bit more. The end was done extremely well, because you then got in there asking, what does it mean to you? What does it mean to us? Overall, the speech was done extremely well, and I can't wait until the next speech.
Thank you, Ernst. Our next accuser, I'd like to ask Nicole Paslow to the podium to evaluate the speech by Alexandra Balda.
Madam Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, and especially you, Alexandra. Well, I thoroughly enjoyed the speech. As a woman, it particularly pertained to me. I do not want to get foot neuroma. So the objective of your speech was to deliver a demonstration that clearly explains a process, product, or activity. And you did that. You explained the consequence of an activity, which is wearing high heels and getting foot neuroma. And also to conduct a demonstration as part of the speech delivered without notes. And you did that as well. I really enjoyed the visual aids that you used. The projector screen, you used your boot, you used the knife. You had my attention the entire time. I almost didn't want to take notes because I wanted to focus on what you were saying. It was hilarious. I enjoyed, it was very informative as well. You taught me a lot. I had no idea about foot neuroma. The pictures that you used to explain what you were going to talk about were hilarious. For example, when you talked about the symptoms, you had the picture of the razor blade under the foot, the face probably screaming. You used the knife to describe the stabbing pain in the foot. Suggestions. I was thinking, what can I suggest? Because I thought you did such a great job. What would I suggest? Possibly maybe using your, as I read the objectives of your speech, maybe using your body a little bit more, vocal variety a little bit more, but you had asked me to pay attention to the fact that you were speaking fast. And I thought you did such a great job. You started very slow, I could understand everything you said, and I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nicole. I too am suffering not from neuroma, but from stepping on sand spurs on a private island this weekend. I don't know where they are, but I can feel them every time I step. Our next speech, evaluator, accuser, is Diane Menikowski evaluating Gus Davies' speech on Fearbola. She looks scared. I don't want to mess with her.
She just made that up her mouth.
She did.
Diane, damn it.
Okay, now I am prepared. Madam Chief Judge, fellow Toastmasters, and guests, it was an honor to be able to hear you talk about something that is such an important topic today. I was looking forward to it, and I know that what your objectives are, Gus, were to select useful information and new information, to organize and make everything easy to understand for our audience, and to motivate us to learn. And I think that it was important of what you did. I would have liked at the very beginning, rather than doing a lot of questions about fear and getting everybody to be afraid, because your whole message was don't be afraid, but in the beginning you get everybody all afraid and use a whole lot of different devices and different types of fears that people have. Possibly just use maybe 3 fears if you're going to start out that way, because you want to draw us in, not push us away. So I think in the beginning we weren't really on track with what your whole message was. You did go on and had a lot of useful information about Ebola and Fearbola. It was a little mixed, and I was a little confused, like which one was more important? Was it more important to get the facts for the Ebola or the Fearbola? I did like the number of facts. I do think that sometimes it would be really nice to have a visual, because a lot of people are not just auditory. You had great eye contact with everybody, so I'm hoping that that translated to a lot of retention in our audience. I also got really good visuals when you talked about Eric Duncan. I almost had an apparition of Eric Duncan appearing in this place with a lot of scary consequences. You were organized. You started out from the beginning of what happens, and you went through the course to the end, and you got to the end of like what will happen at the end. I think I would have liked to have heard more facts about why we shouldn't be afraid. You talked about how you said, oh, the good news is, and then you talked about Eric Duncan dying, and that wasn't good news to me. So I wanted to hear some good news, possibly that there were some kind of directives in place to make us safe or to make us feel safe, and possibly even to add some different examples of what we could do if we see these symptoms to protect ourselves so we won't be afraid. you have really good hand gestures. You did a great job. I like that you moved out here and you weren't behind the podium or the lectern. And as always, you have a great soothing voice and you draw people in. And that is absolutely a great thing. I also, let me see, I got a lot of Oscars, even though a lot of money. Yeah, I think that's pretty much what I wanted. I wanted a few more examples of what we could do, so we wouldn't be afraid. A few more examples of possibly maybe what they're doing over in Sierra Leone and Liberia, in West Africa, to get rid of the fear over there, because it's so great over there, and possibly and possibly just finish a little bit stronger with that. Thank you.
I almost wanted a fist bump after that evaluation. Shake hands. I'm gonna forewarn you in this topic of Fearbola, there's no coughing allowed during the meeting. Let's hear from our jurors on the votes and final judgment of today, starting with our odd counter, Julia Kaufman.
Thank you, General Evaluator. We had a clean slate with Stephen and Gus and Alexandra, nice job, as well as Erica thus far. Suzelene, I heard 1 ah, 2 ums, 3 so's, and 2 ands, 1 double clutch. Ernst, I heard 1 ah, 4 ums, 1 you know, and 4 double clutches. Mike, you were clean. Nicole, 4 ums. And Diane, you're the winner today, my dear. You had 11 ahs,
No way.
and 6 double clutches, and 2 ands. That is my report.
Take me away.
They are Our time bewitcher, Hadi. How did we do today?
Not well. Suzelene, you took 3 minutes 45, so you're under time. Alex took 7 minutes and 43 seconds. And Gus was close, 7 minutes 3 seconds. For table topics, I missed your name, was it David? Is that it? Richard. Richard, sorry. Okay, Richard. So you took 24 seconds for the table topics. Jessica was within limit, 43 seconds. Mike just shy, 28 seconds. And Ernst, 1 minute and 8 seconds. For the evaluators, Ernst was within time limit, 2 minutes 12. Nicole was as well, 1 minute 50, and Diane, 3 minutes 50.
What was it, 5 minutes?
Thank you for your report. Last but not least, our Goldmarian, Jessica Reschke.
Thank you, Madam Chief Judge. We did really well with the word of the day today. People who used it were Alexandra, our Toastmaster, Stephen, Gus, Mike, Ernst, Julia, Erica, and Diane. If I missed anybody, I apologize, but everyone else, including me, is 25% fine. Okay, we had so much colorful language today from our Ghostbuster, Stephen. My favorite was people who weren't here might have expired prematurely. Suzelene, I loved when you said that red is like my Red Bull. I was very clever. Alexandra, you had so many great foot analogies in your speech. Just the title, Get Off on the Right Foot, the picture of the guy with his foot in his mouth, very clever, very good. I did think it was funny, one thing that you had said when you were showing us the diagram, and I was impressed because you went over all of the anatomy of the foot very well, but you said the football. So I was picturing a football on your foot when we usually say ball of the foot. One thing I did also appreciate that you did was you said literally, you used that correctly, because you said it literally feels like you're walking on razors instead of saying literally walking on razors, which a lot of people do. And if you've seen a past speech of mine, you know that that's a pet peeve of mine. So thanks for saying literally feels like. And Gus, I really liked how you said that Fearbola is a disease that goes through your mind, goes to your mind through your ears. That's great. And that's my report.
Thank you. Couple observations today. All the artwork seems to be facing the correct direction. So that apparently was figured out. Hopefully it was not an apparition of a past guest that came back to haunt Panera. Stephen, I want to commend you for the time spent in preparing today's agenda. He has just raised the bar that much. So those of you who are considering doing the agenda near a holiday, please take a look and make note of all the quirky words that he used and how spooky some of the words that you picked as well at the same time. But I commend you. Thank you so much. Next note was the observation. First off, it's a lot of work to bring a projector and to set this up, and I want to acknowledge you for, even with your foot and whoever helped you prepare for this. You got to run the power cable and things like that, and you gracefully came over and just set it right back up. And I don't think it would have been as impactful of a speech had it not been for the visual aids. And so therefore, I want to make note of that. That is something special that we don't always have. Also, the sweet treats that are throughout the room. That was a nice touch with the ghoulish theme for today. Also want to make note that we have a lot less attendance. I'm not quite sure what's going on in people's minds, but we do still have a guest. So we're happy to see you today. We have over 22 members at this time, so it's my observation that's a little light today. Other than that, I don't have any other comments on today's agenda. And that is my report regarding the meeting. Now, I'm going to introduce myself. Let's hear from our president, Erica Benfield. All right, let's talk about our meeting for next week. I am the Toastmaster. Juliana Devler is our speaker.
Yes, she's been traveling.
Okay, Ernst is our second speaker. Jessica, you're our third speaker. Table Topics Master, hopefully he will appear not just in an apparition format. Paul Walsh, General Evaluator Gus Davies, Evaluator 1 Stephanie Bonnie Byrne, Mike Hughes, Julia Kaufman. Counter Carrie Bird, Romarian Diane Manikowski, Timer Hadi. And it looks like Stephen will not be here next week, so if we could do our best to make note of the following week's roles. I saw that Jessica filled herself in as Table Topics Master, but Stephen does a really good job of, we have Easy Speak that we're supposed to log in and do, but we also have a backup, which is the handwritten, so that won't be here next week unless someone voluntold by Stephen to print and bring one. All right, that's enough on that business. We have a guest today that I would like to have her come up and introduce yourself. You can stand up where you are and just tell us what you thought of the meeting.
My name is Lori Richards, and years ago I belonged to this Toastmaster group. So seeing Stephen and Julia were like apparitions. And I got extremely busy with life and work and fell out of it, and I'm interested in coming back. And the reason that I had joined Toastmasters in the beginning was to develop better listening skills. And I still need to do that because over the past, however, 10 years or so, I haven't improved. So I need to, sadly. So that's the reason that I'm here, and it's really great to see all of you, some familiar faces. And Gus Davies, I was surprised to see him here. You live next door to my sister-in-law.
Wow.
Everyone circles.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you for joining us. You can continue to attend, and I'm sure with your past experience, it'll just kick right in, like no time. Right, Julia?
Absolutely.
Now, we also have a contest going on, so I'm going to give an opportunity for those of you who did not buy a ticket or maybe came in late. If you want to buy another ticket, you still have time to do that.
In the pot, so
While we're doing that, I also want to make note that we have a conference in Jacksonville in 2 weeks, and everyone is welcome to attend. You can, I was told that it starts on Friday through Saturday, so you can spend the night. There is an email that went out. If you have not received it, let us know. We can also drive up for the day on Saturday if you wanted to do something like that. There is a fee of $119, Stephen, for the whole thing. So if you are interested in meeting other Toastmasters throughout several areas, they will be there. The theme is Capone. Is it Capone? Black and white, that was last year. Capone. Truman Capote. But they said anything black and white goes. Anything black and white you can wear and get creative. We can go to, you know, I'm sure we can get together and all drive in one vehicle if nobody wants to drive to Jacksonville. So just let me know and send me an email if you have some interest in going, and we can figure it out from there.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I have change dollars. Like those.
$1.08.
I have enough dollars.
I need
Five
change
for
for
10.
10. I need 2 5s for 10.
As Toastmaster for next week,
10.5.
I don't have my calendar open, but Mike, isn't Veterans Day next week? Or is it the following? Election Day. Okay, then that is gonna be our theme. I was debating, do I go Veterans Day or do I go Election Day? I wasn't sure if it was.
One's better than the other.
So I too am in the last week campaigning for my uncle Bob Cortez. I was told he has 16% ahead on the early voter registration. So if you happen to be in his district and you see me waving signs in your area, honk at me. I know it's freedom of speech. I know that some people wave, some people do all kinds of interesting things when you're in that position, including giving the finger. I have not been given the finger, but I've been warned that it can happen if they don't want to vote for your candidate. But get involved and vote regardless. It's our right, and a lot of people fought to do that. So please vote, even if you don't like the candidates, vote and have an opinion because it is our duty. All right, how much money do we have today?
We have $16, so $8 to the kitty and $8 to the winner.
Perfect, let's have our guest pay for winning member.
Pick my number, girl.
Big money, no enemies.
Gotta win one of these days.
Here, take my-
Okay.
This is it.
2300554.
It's not easy.
God.
Wow.
Look at that.
Hey,
All the traction. Fantastic.
Want my money back.
Thank you everyone for this wonderful day. I hope that this keeps you in a fantastic mood through the holiday. Have a great week. We'll see you next week.
All right.
If anyone wants